Why, hello, and welcome to my brand new YouTube channel, Morbid Meditations. This is my very first video for this. I'm pretty excited. Today I'm going to be talking about the original 1960 William Castle flick, 13 Ghosts. I first saw this movie when I was 5 years old, and I was immediately hooked. It was the first horror movie I ever saw, and I watched it several times a day, despite the fact that it kind of freaked me out, what with the severed heads and gruesome ghosts. And honestly, I was kind of pissed when I heard they were making a remake. I was in middle school at the time, and I was already a hipster. The original source material was just so near and dear to my heart that I was literally offended by it. I have heard that the remake is kind of a guilty pleasure horror movie for a lot of fans. Oh, and this review is jam-packed with spoilers, so be forewarned. So it opens all nice and spooky-like, really setting the tone, sort of like a fun haunted house attraction. It was produced and directed by William Castle, one of the kings of the gimmick horror movie. Others include The Tingler, which featured Percepto, basically a vibrating chair when the creature was loose in the theater, and The House on Haunted Hill, which had Emergo, a flying skeleton that would glide through the theater. And honestly, that sounds like a load of fun. I was obsessed with skeletons and bones when I was a kid. Mostly because skulls are just adorable. This opening really creeped me out when I was a kid, and I love the sound effects. The score was composed by Von Dexter, who also did The Tingler and The House on Haunted Hill. His music always creates a great atmosphere. The movie opens at the Los Angeles County Museum, and we are introduced to Cy, an absent-minded professor who is regularly in debt, so much so that his wife calls because she's upset that the repo guys are taking all of their stuff. I love that spinning skull. Enter their son, Buck, played by Charles Herbert, a renowned child star of the era, known for his surprisingly mature acting style. He was also in The Fly, the 1958 version. Unfortunately, though, like many child actors, once he hit puberty, he was out. It's Buck's birthday, and we're introduced to his love of ghosts. We're also introduced to his sister, Medea. Buck wishes for a house with furniture that no one could take away.
Mr. Cyrus.
And I seriously did not know this was the front door for years. I mean, look at that. Look at that black void out there.
Cy is given a summons to see the attorney, Benjamin Rush. Rush is played by Martin Milner, who is something of a teen heartthrob at the time, with that boyish face of his. They discover they've inherited a house from Plato Zorba, his rich, ghost-catching uncle, and a pair of nifty glasses. I love this dangling fly. Zap. Ben arrives to discuss paperwork with Cy and finds Buck skating back and forth on the porch. Buck seems super excited about the ghosts. Medea opens the door and totally gobbles up Ben with her eyes as soon as she sees him. We discover that a witch is living in the house. Well, the housekeeper, Elaine, played by Margaret Hamilton. You know, the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. And she is just perfect in this role. Buck finds a Ouija board.
Can I say that? Hasbro.
And a secret compartment with a secret diary, written in Latin. Of course, they play a game. The questions start off innocent at first.
Is Medea in love?
And progressively get darker and more serious.
Are there any ghosts in this house?
Are they going to hurt us?
Are they going to kill any of us?
The Ouija board tells them that there are 13 ghosts in the house. The scene is actually pretty tense and is a nice jump scare when the portrait of Zorba suddenly crashes down off the wall. Now it's the first night spent in the house. What is up with that creepy painting on the wall? We learn that they can't sell the house, and their financial desperation gives them a legitimate reason for staying there. Cy goes down to get a book, and we see our first haunting. The Arm & Hammer guy gone rogue, doing a bit of head chopping and giggling. Cy discovers a hidden room, apparently with the ghost of a yodeler inside. It's Dr. Zorba's lab. He hears ghostly whispering and decides it's a good time to put on these glasses. By the way, this movie featured this gimmick, Illusiono. The audience was given a pair of cardboard glasses with red and blue lenses, much like old school 3D.
You would essentially look into the red lens to see the ghosts and look into the blue lens to not see the ghosts, which is a pretty cool idea, actually. It was kind of like a spin on the whole 3D thing. William Castle got the idea from going to the eye doctor from that like thing they put on your head.
Once Cy has the glasses on, 4 ghosts appear. A skeleton, an armless dude, a long-handed ghost, and a head. They all catch fire, presumably because they are tortured souls suffering in a hell realm.
But maybe I'm reading too much into this.
They turn into a giant ceiling fan and attack Cy, who eventually is branded by the number 13.
I also must pause and say that this whole thing really, like this premise, really reminds me of the wonderful PS2 era game, Fatal Frame.
The next day,
I love his Texas Chainsaw Massacre style office.
his boss, Van Allen, has translated the Latin. Zorba apparently captured 11 ghosts. Zorba himself is the 12th, claiming he will haunt the earth and seek his revenge, and the 13th ghost is unknown. Cy's wife calls and she demands that he come home. Something spooky is brewing.
And now we come to one of my favorite ghosts.
Emilio. He was an Italian chef that killed his wife. He killed his mother-in-law too, and his sister-in-law, with a meat cleaver. Whack, whack, whack.
His gigantic mustache is impressive. Obviously, Hilda, Cy's wife, wants to get the hell out of there. Margaret Hamilton is wonderful in this role. She's so deadpan. Cy asks how his uncle died, and Elaine is like, I'll show you. He was found in his bed, suffocated. She thinks it was the spirits that killed him. Anyway, Lumiere comes forward to show Cy a mysterious switch at the base of the bed that lowers the top. We hear Zorba's final moments, and it's actually sort of horrifying and claustrophobic. Later that night, Medea comes home from her date with Ben.
And is it just me, or does it look like she's got that dress on backwards?
Everyone goes to bed. But wait, spooky zombie legs are a-walking, it would seem. Medea wakes up so she can shut those darn noisy shutters. Jump scare! This creepy zombie man really frightened me when I was little. The way you can see his teeth protruding from the holes in his cheek, is pretty gruesome. The next morning, after half-ass making the bed, Buck slides down the banister, which makes $200 pop out, which he doesn't see at first. He grabs the glasses and goes for a little basement stroll. He finds a trunk from the famous lion tamer, Shadrach the Great, who is known for sticking his head in a lion's mouth. Thinking this would be a great idea, he opens the obvious lion cage nearby, and lo and behold, he puts on the glasses, and now he can see the lion.
By the way, I love Buck's goofy, excited expression here.
Enter Shadrach, sans head.
And he was my absolute favorite ghost for years. I don't know what it is, but I've just always had this thing for headless dudes.
You know, like the Headless Horseman, Billy from Hocus Pocus. Shadrach's like, hey kid, come help me find my head. And they must have put actual meat on the stump to make it look gross because the lion starts chewing on it.
I met a lion
That's good.
and a man without a head.
Ben arrives to do some paperwork with Cy and discovers Buck, who has just discovered the $200, which was a lot back then, more like $2,000. Anyway, Ben starts acting like a pederast, saying creepy things like,
I keep your secrets and you keep mine, okay?
and to make things worse, he totally lures Buck into an alcove, where he tells him that there's a secret treasure in the house.
You know, this part really reminds me of one of those Stranger Danger films from the 80s and 90s. You know the ones I mean.
Back in Cy's office, and I think that's a real skeleton hanging up, Ben tries to coerce Cy into leaving the house. Van Allen comes in, explaining how, in the diary, Zorba said he had hidden his fortune. This, of course, piques Cy's interest. Instead of leaving immediately, they decide to hold a seance with Elaine. Buck really wants to go to this seance.
It'll be fun. Boy, maybe someone will get murdered.
Damn, I like this kid.
Elaine manages to summon Zorba, and his moans are both creepy and funny at the same time. Zorba speaks directly through Cy.
Zorba.
He steps out of his portrait, which is pretty neat. He warns,
Death tonight. One of you.
bedtime, and the spooky zombie legs are back. And oh shit, it's Ben, who is the real culprit, the one who murdered Dr. Zorba. I really want to know where he got that bed made, by the way. So now he's in kill mode again. This time, his target is Buck. Boy, Buck is a heavy sleeper. That or Ben slipped something into his Ovaltine. He coldly puts Buck inside the crush bed, intent on murdering him. In retrospect, this makes Ben's character way creepier in subsequent viewings. He's a cold-blooded predator. Seeing as how Martin Milner was so clean-cut and dreamy at the time, this makes for some great casting in that era. I'm sure a lot of people were pretty surprised by this. The ghosts start going nuts and Dr. Zorba appears. The look on Ben's face is pure horror. He's held under the bed as it slowly crushes him, and the screams that come out of him are chilling. So now the fam is having a sweet cash counting party. Buck asks Elaine if she's really a witch, and Elaine is the coolest answer ever.
Ask me no questions, and I'll tell you no lies.
And it would seem she is, because she appears to explode the glasses with her mind. She then grabs a broom and, breaking the fourth wall, smiles coyly at the camera.
I love that.
We get a recap of all the ghosts, now with the Ben as the 13th ghost. I still don't understand the house for sale sign on the door.
I think 13 Ghosts is a really solid haunted house movie. It's got a great spooky vibe going on, a great kind of tongue-in-cheek approach to a lot of the horror elements, a fun gimmick. I mean, what more can you ask for? I really appreciate William Castle's approach to both filmmaking and marketing. It was super unique. There's an excellent documentary about William Castle called Spine Tingler, the William Castle story, and I highly recommend it, as I highly recommend this movie if you want a fun, spooky haunted house ride. So have any of you guys seen this one? What'd you think of it? Did you see the remake? Should I cover the remake? Anyway, I'm Laura. Good talking with y'all, and see ya!